I still remember the weight of those keys in my hand. 5 years of work, 60 hours every single week. Skipping happy hours with coworkers, turning down weekend trips, driving that same beat-up sedan for 12 years straight. All of it led to this moment, standing in front of a small ranch house on the outskirts of Portland, Oregon. 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, and it was entirely mine. I had not told my parents because I wanted to do this alone, to prove to myself that I could. I thought they would be proud when they found out. I imagined their faces lighting up, maybe even my dad clapping me on the shoulder. But when they discovered what I had done, everything changed forever. Before I tell you how this all fell apart, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your city in the comments. If you have ever felt like the forgotten child in your family, hit that like button. You will understand why in a minute. And subscribe, because what happened next taught me the hardest lesson about family loyalty I have ever learned. Now let me take you back to where it all started. Growing up, I was always the invisible one. My brother Brian was 4 years older, and from the time we were kids, I could see the difference in how our parents treated us. When Brian brought home a science project, it was, "Brian, you are so brilliant." When I won second place in the 5th grade science fair, my mom asked why I had not come in first. Brian graduated college with average grades, and they threw a party for 50 people. I graduated high school with honors, and they showed up to the ceremony 20 minutes late, stayed for the diploma handoff, then left for Brian's baseball game. I learned early to stop expecting recognition. I worked hard because that was who I was, not because anyone was watching. But deep down, I still wanted them to see me. Just once. By the time I turned 25, I had landed a steady job as an operations manager at a logistics company. The starting salary was $52,000 a year. Not amazing, but decent. I kept my head down, took on the projects nobody else wanted, worked late without asking for overtime pay. My boss noticed. 5 years later, I was making $78,000 annually. I was proud of that. I had climbed up through effort, not connections. Around that same time, I started thinking about buying a house. Not renting. Owning. It became my singular goal. I mapped out a plan, save 20% for a down payment, keep my credit score immaculate, cut every unnecessary expense. I stopped going out. My friends would call. "Ralph, we are hitting up that new brewery downtown. Come on, man." I would decline. Marcus, my best friend since college, asked me once, "Bro, you are 30 years old. Live a little," I told him. "I am living for the future, not just today." I meal prepped every Sunday. I drove that same car, even when the air conditioning died. I did not take a real vacation for 5 years. Every spare dollar went into my savings account. Slowly, painfully, the number climbed. 40,000, 50,000, 60,000, and then finally, $64,000. I started looking at houses. I did not want anything fancy, just something solid, something mine. I found a place on Maple Street, a quiet neighborhood with tall oak trees lining the road. It was a 3-bedroom ranch-style house with a small backyard, hardwood floors that needed some love, and windows that let in beautiful afternoon light. The asking price was $320,000. With my down payment, the mortgage would be manageable. My credit score was 760, so the bank approved me without hesitation. The closing day was in early October. The leaves were turning gold and crimson. I signed the papers, shook hands with the realtor, and walked out holding the keys. I sat in my car for 10 minutes, just staring at them. I had done it, all by myself. No help from anyone. I decided not to tell my parents right away. I wanted to surprise them. Maybe that sounds silly, but I had this vision in my head. I would invite them over for Thanksgiving dinner at my new place. I would cook the turkey myself, set the table, show them around. They would be shocked, proud. Maybe my dad would finally say, "I am proud of you, son." Maybe my mom would hug me tight and tell me I had done well. For once, I would not be the afterthought. I would be the son who made something of himself. I moved in the next week. Marcus helped me carry in the IKEA furniture I had bought. We spent an entire Saturday assembling a couch, a coffee table, a bed frame. He cracked jokes the whole time. Man, your parents are going to lose their minds when they see this. This is awesome. I smiled. I hope so, Marcus. I really hope so. I painted the living room a warm gray. I hung up a few pictures. Nothing expensive, just prints I liked. I put plants on the windowsills. The house started to feel like home. Every evening I would sit on the back porch with a beer, looking at the yard, thinking about what I would plant in the spring. Tomatoes, maybe. Basil. I felt peace for the first time in years. But I made one mistake. One small, stupid mistake. I forgot that my parents still had access to an old joint savings account we had opened when I was 17. I never used it anymore, but I had never closed it either. My current bank sent me statements to my new address on Maple Street. Somehow, one of those statements ended up in the mail my mom saw. She called me on a Wednesday afternoon. I was at work going over shipping schedules. "Ralph, what is this address on Maple Street?" Her voice was curious, not warm. I froze. I had wanted to wait 3 more weeks until Thanksgiving, but she had found out. I took a breath. "Mom, I bought a house. I was going to surprise you guys at Thanksgiving." There was a pause, a long one. Then she said, "You bought a house by yourself?" "Yeah. I have been saving for 5 years." Another pause. "Oh, that is great, honey." But her tone was off. It was not pride. It was something else. Something calculating. I could not place it, but it made my stomach tighten. "We will talk soon." "Okay." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there staring at my phone. That was not the reaction I expected. Not even close. I told myself she was just surprised. She would be happy later. But a small voice in the back of my head whispered, "Something is wrong." 2 days later, my dad called. I was in the middle of a meeting, but when I saw his name on the screen, I stepped out. "Hey, Dad. Ralph, your mother and I want to talk about the house." I leaned against the wall in the hallway. "Sure, Dad. What about it?" He cleared his throat. "We have been thinking, and this is actually perfect timing." Perfect timing, I had no idea what he meant. Perfect timing for what, well, Brian and Sarah are having a tough time right now. You know, their house only has 2 bedrooms. The kids are getting bigger, 7 and 9 years old now. They need more space. I blinked. Where was this going? Okay. And Brian really needs a home office. He has been working from home 3 days a week, and he is stuck at the kitchen table. It is not ideal. Your house has 3 bedrooms, Ralph. That is perfect. My heart started pounding. Dad, what are you saying? We are saying Brian could use one of those bedrooms as his office, and the kids could have the other bedroom when they visit on weekends. You are single son. You do not need all that space. It is still your house, Ralph. But family helps. Family right. I could not believe what I was hearing. Dad, I just bought this house for myself. We know, son. But you do not have a wife or kids. You do not need 3 bedrooms. Brian has a family. He needs the space more than you do. I felt heat rising in my chest. I worked 5 years for this. This is my achievement, and we are proud of you. That is why you should share it with your brother. He helped you with your college applications. Remember, now it is your turn to help him. That was 12 years ago, and I thanked him already. Family does not keep score, Ralph. Do not be selfish. The word hit me like a slap. Selfish. I was being selfish for wanting to keep the house I bought with my own money. I tried to stay calm. Dad, this is not fair. What is not fair is refusing to help your brother when he needs it. We will talk more later. He hung up. I stood in that hallway, phone in hand, feeling like the floor had disappeared beneath me. That evening, Brian called. His voice was cheerful, casual. "Hey, little bro, heard about your new place?" I was still reeling from the conversation with my dad. "Yeah. and I heard what Mom and Dad suggested. Oh, yeah, I think it is a great idea. Very generous of you. Generous I had not agreed to anything. Brian, hold on. I never said yes. What his tone shifted. Confusion then, irritation. Ralph, come on. You are being ridiculous. You live alone. What do you need 3 bedrooms for? I bought this house for myself, and we are family. Mom and Dad said it is the right thing to do. The kids are excited. Sarah wants to pick out paint colors for the office. We will cover the cost, of course. I could not believe this. They were already planning. Brian, I am not giving you a room in my house. Silence. Then his voice turned cold. Wow. I never knew you were this selfish. After everything we have done for you growing up, everything you have done, like what I drove you to school when you missed the bus. I helped you with your homework. I let you borrow my car for prom. And this is how you repay me. Every word felt like an accusation. I tried to defend myself. And I have helped you too, Brian. I loaned you $2,000 last year. You have not paid me back. I have watched your kids for free countless weekends. I fixed your car without charging you. Do you remember any of that when name one time? I actually needed you. His voice was dismissive, like my help had never mattered. I just did, Brian. But you do not remember, or you do not want to. You know what? You are going to regret this. Mom and Dad are going to hear about it. Do not come crying to us when you need help. The line went dead. I sat on my couch in my new house, the house I was so proud of, and felt completely alone. 3 days later, my mom sent a text. Not a question, a command. Family dinner, Sunday at 6. Be there. I knew what this was. An intervention, a coordinated attack. I thought about not going, but I decided I needed to face this head on. Sunday evening, I pulled up to my parents' house. The driveway was full. Brian's SUV, Sarah's sedan. I walked in and everyone was already seated around the dining table. My parents, Brian, Sarah. The 2 kids coloring at the far end. No one smiled. No one said hello. The air felt thick, hostile. I sat down. My mom spoke first. Ralph, we need to talk about your attitude. My attitude, yes. We raised you better than this. Family comes first. Always. My dad jumped in. Brian needs that space, Ralph. You are being unreasonable. Sarah, who rarely spoke up at family gatherings, leaned forward. Our kids deserve better. You have so much room and you are keeping it all to yourself. That is just selfish. My mom nodded. Mrs. Henderson's son let his brother live with him rent-free for 2 years. That is what family does, Ralph. We are not even asking you to let Brian live there. Just share a couple of rooms. Is that too much to ask? I tried to stay calm. My hands were shaking under the table. This is my house. I worked 5 years for it. My mom's face hardened. And we worked 20 years raising you. We fed you. We clothed you. We paid for your education. Now you cannot do this one thing for your brother. That was it. That was the moment. The words hit me like a freight train. Everything I had ever done meant nothing. I was not their son. I was a tool, a resource, something to be used when Brian needed help. I looked around the table, at my parents, at Brian, who sat there with his arms crossed like he deserved this, at Sarah, who looked at me like I was a monster, at the kids oblivious coloring their pictures, and I realized they would never see me. Not really. No matter what I did, I would always be second, always less important, always the one expected to sacrifice. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. Everyone looked at me. No. My mom blinked. What did you say? I said no. This is my house. Brian is not getting a room. My dad's face turned red. Ralph, do not be dramatic. I am not being dramatic. I am being clear. I worked 5 years, 60 hours a week. I saved every single penny. I did not go on vacations. I did not buy new clothes. I did not go out with friends. I did this for me. Not for Brian. My mom stood up. Ralph, you are being unreasonable. No, I am being honest. Do you remember my high school graduation? You showed up late. But for Brian's college graduation, you threw a party for 50 people. I made honor roll every semester. You said good job and moved on. Brian got a B+ on one test and you celebrated like he won the lottery. That is not fair, my mom snapped. We love you both equally. I laughed. It came out bitter. No, you do not. You never have. And I am done pretending it does not hurt. This house is mine. It is the one thing I have accomplished that you cannot give to Brian, and I am keeping it. Brian shot to his feet. You are being a selfish asshole, Sarah chimed in. Think about the children, I looked at her. They are not my children, Sarah. They are yours and Brian's. You want more space? Work for it like I did. My mother's voice was ice. If you walk out that door, do not come back. I stopped, turned, looked her in the eye. Okay. My dad stood now too. Ralph, you do not mean that. I absolutely do. Goodbye. I walked out. The cold November air hit my face. I got in my car. My hands were shaking so hard I could barely grip the steering wheel. But underneath the pain, I felt something else. Relief. Freedom. I had finally said it. I had finally stood up. The next week was brutal. My mom called every day. I did not answer. Brian sent long texts. You are tearing this family apart. Sarah sent messages designed to gut me. The kids are crying. They do not understand why Uncle Ralph hates them. I blocked their numbers. Then the extended family got involved. My aunt called. Your mother is heartbroken. How could you do this to her? My uncle left a voicemail. Family is everything, Ralph. You are making a huge mistake. I tried to explain, but they had already heard my parents' version. The version where I was the cruel son who refused to help his struggling brother. No one asked if I had the right to say no. I started to doubt myself. Late at night, lying in bed, I wondered if I really was selfish. Maybe they were right. Maybe I should just give Brian the room. It would be easier. It would make everyone happy. Everyone except me. Then Marcus called. Bro, let me get this straight. You worked your ass off for 5 years, bought a house, and now your family thinks your brother deserves to use it. I exhaled. When you put it that way, there is no other way to put it. That is insane. They are guilt-tripping you because they know you are a good person. But being good does not mean being a doormat. That sentence changed everything. Being good does not mean being a doormat. I had spent my whole life trying to be good enough, trying to earn their love. But it was never about being good. It was about being useful. And I was done. I sent one final email. I need space. Do not contact me until you can respect my boundaries. Then I blocked everyone. The silence that followed was terrifying at first, but then it became peaceful. A month later, I was painting the fence in my backyard when I heard a car pull up. I turned. Brian. He got out, walked toward me. We need to talk. I set down the paintbrush. I have nothing to say to you. Look, I am sorry things got heated. Maybe we can compromise. What if I just use the office 3 days a week? You will not even notice I am there. I shook my head. Brian, the answer is still no. His face twisted. You know what? You have always been jealous of me. That is what this is really about, is it not? You finally have one thing I do not, and you are rubbing it in my face. I almost laughed. Is that what you think? What else could it be? I looked at him. Really looked at him. Brian, I have never been jealous of you. I have been hurt. There is a difference. You got everything growing up. Attention, praise, support. I got leftovers, and I made peace with that. But this house, This is mine, and you are not taking it from me. He played his final card. Mom and Dad will never forgive you for this. You will lose your family. I smiled sadly. I already lost them, Brian. I just did not realize it until now. A real family would not demand this. A real family would be proud of me, not try to guilt me into giving up what I earned. Brian stared at me for a long moment. Then he turned and walked away. I watched his car disappear down the street, and for the first time in my entire life, I felt completely, utterly free. The first few months were hard. I would think about my family and feel a deep ache in my chest. I remembered the few good times, birthday cakes, Christmas mornings, but I also remembered all the times I was overlooked, forgotten, told I was not enough. I let myself grieve. I let myself be sad, and slowly I started to heal. Marcus introduced me to his hiking group. I met people who valued me for who I was, not what I could do for them. A guy named David told me one day, "You seem like a really solid guy, Ralph." It was simple, but it meant more than any compliment from my family ever had. I started doing things I loved. I planted a garden. I learned to cook properly. I read books on the back porch. I decorated my house exactly how I wanted. Minimalist, calm, full of plants. Every corner was mine, no one else's. 6 months after I walked out of that family dinner, my mom sent a short email. "We miss you." I did not respond right away. I needed them to understand that respect had to come before forgiveness. Eventually, I opened the door to reconciliation. But with clear boundaries, I would not be their backup plan. I would not be the person they turned to when Brian needed something. If they wanted me in their lives, it had to be because they valued me, not because I was useful. I learned something important through all of this. I do not hate my parents. I do not hate Brian. They are who they are. They probably will not change. But I can change how I respond. I can choose to protect my peace instead of chasing their approval. That is freedom. Real freedom. I also learned that family is not always the people who share your blood. Sometimes family is the people you choose. Marcus, who stood by me when everyone else turned away. David and the hiking group who welcomed me without asking what I could offer them. These people became my family, and that is okay. Worth does not come from how others treat you. It comes from how you treat yourself. I do not need my parents' validation anymore. I do not need Brian to acknowledge what I have done. I am enough, just as I am. Now I sit on my porch most mornings, with a cup of coffee watching the sun rise over the neighborhood. I look at what I have built, not just the house but the life, the peace, the boundaries, and I think about how many people out there are living to please someone else. How many people are giving up their dreams because of guilt? I hope they find their own house someday. Not just a house made of walls, but a life built on their own terms. Have you ever had to set boundaries with family? Have you ever been the forgotten child? Drop your story in the comments. I read every single one, and I promise you are not alone. If this story resonated with you, smash that like button. Subscribe so you do not miss future stories. And share this with someone who needs to hear it. Someone who is struggling to stand up for themselves. Someone who needs permission to say no. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it gave you strength, clarity, or at least the reminder that your worth is not up for debate. Take care of yourselves out there. You deserve a life on your own terms.